Thank you for downloading this RealAgriculture podcast. Excite your crops with inputs from Excite Bio. Access nitrogen and phosphorus with Excite Bio's lineup of inoculants and ag biologicals. Since 2010, they've been helping farmers harness the power of the soil. Learn more at excitebio.ca. That's XITEBIO.ca.
Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com and Real Ag Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM, in Cambridge, Ontario today at a great CCAN event. Just got off the stage. It was a lot of fun connecting with the audience. And who do I find who also presented here today? It was Machinery Pete. Greg, it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Sean. Enjoyed your presentation. Fantastic as always, and always great fun to come back up north of the border.
Okay, you were, of course, today talking about what's happening in the machinery market. We're clearly seeing some tightening of margins on the farm, some dipping even into the red in cases. How is all this having an impact on what's happening in the machinery market?
Well, it's a great question, Sean. I mean, 34 plus years I've been tracking this stuff every day. I sort of look at it like sentiment doesn't matter. It's just, hey, put this asset up for sale today in Ontario or Minnesota or Texas, and what did it bring? And then how does that compare? So I think definitely some changes. We're beginning tilt away from a seller's market, probably the strongest seller's market I've ever seen, extended for 3+ years, towards more of a buyer's market, based on supply has changed on the dealer side, and then also changing realities with, like you said, the profitability for Joe Farmer.
Are we seeing the volume of transactions slow down? Because that's something we talk a lot about in the real estate market or the land market, is like, values are still pretty high, but we've seen a slow down. We're getting less liquid. Is that happening in machinery?
Yeah, I think you could probably make the argument. I mean, we do track raw number of auctions, and I would say that end of 23 was extremely busy. I think a lot of farmers may be pushing forward a little retirement or downsizing to capture the year-end buying heat, so we definitely saw that. Even in January is always slow. But, it's just I haven't noticed a drastic drop-off in the number of machinery sales. But then, by the same token, I haven't noticed a huge increase either. So,
now, all machinery is not created equal. There is differences. When AEM reports their numbers on new machinery sales, they've got it broken down by horsepower on tractors and combines and things like that. When you look at the used market, where are you seeing strength versus where are you seeing weakness from a machinery type standpoint?
Well, the tractor market as a whole has been exceedingly strong, stronger than you would have thought structurally, given the increase on the dealer used lots. But it's just been, good condition used tractors have been fantastic, selling very well. I think because of what's happening on the new side, the multiple price increases, aggressive price increases, that always pulls up on the value of good used. If you drift into pre-def, that thing has almost become unglued, how just unhinged the buyer demand. It's leached over from the tractor market into the combine market. I never thought I'd be writing columns about trends with pre-def combines, but that became a thing last year. I think what's interesting to me is now if we get on the dealer side of things, they're very conscious of what happened a decade ago when used values fell like a rock in end of 13, 14, 15. We're talking 20 to 25% year-over-year drop in value. And everyone tends to think the used values will fall the same this time. But there's structural differences right now. One is the number of dealers versus 10 years ago. The consolidation has been breathtaking. So now you don't have a 2 to 6 store dealership. You got a 30 to 70 plus location, and they're capitalized. That's a whole different animal. And so we saw them get very aggressive and push excess late model used onto the auction market proactively last summer, July and August with combines. So like on a John Deere S780, we saw 400% increase in the number sold at auction. Now, Econ 101, you would say, oh my God, the auction, it must have felt like a rock. But they only dipped 15.5%. And where we see the bigger drop is the 6 to 10-year-old, the S600, and the same with other color lines in that age range. So I think they're becoming more selective buying opportunities, plugging into age-wise, what you're looking at.
One of the other things I wonder about, too, is we've continued to see some machines get larger and larger and larger, and I've always wondered, where does some of these very large combines or seed drills, where do they go in the used market? Because if I'm a really large farmer looking for that class of combine or, that 60, 80 foot drill, I'm going to buy new. I don't, unless there's a really deep discount on the used. Is the size being any sort of a factor? Are you seeing any differences?
Yeah, you just identified a truth, a reality of the farm equipment market. Yeah, bigger is better has a boomerang effect. I mean, so where's not just the second buyer, where's the third buyer, where's the fourth buyer? So now we're seeing things, if you look for sale, machinerybeat.com, all of a sudden the number of X9s on the market. Not every farmer needs an X9 combine. So when we see the flip of it, and if I had a nickel for every time someone would say, gosh, Pete, I wish they would just make, like the old days, I wish they'd make smaller equipment that I need. So then we see things like a farmer in South Dakota who lists 9570, an 09 model, for sale with us with 0 hours on it. And I was like, oh my God, I need the rest of the story. What's the scoop here? So I called the guy up. He's a seed dealer. And he said, well, my dad bought this thing. And then he changed our operation back in the day, went to no-till, just didn't use it, had beans custom done. So he said, Pete, am I nuts to ask $249.9 for this 9570? And I said, that's what I'd ask. Put the story out there. He had 2 full price offers in 2 days. Not for a collector. They want to farm with it. Brand new, a smaller combine, like new, whatever. So that's 15 years old. But we see the same, you'll see strength with 6-row planters if it's right. It's just we're splitting based on size. Yep. And that does create a valid question on what's a 4-year-old massive, biggest combine worth, or the highest horse tractor. And that's why I enjoy being on the sideline reporting on it day by day, and I can bring you the story. So, but hopefully we try and help people, make that good decision so they know, if it dropped, did it drop 20%, did it drop 10%, and just so you know before you write the check.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of things where I say the same thing. I like to talk about it, I like to report on it. I'm glad I'm not having to write the check for it. That's for sure. You mentioned the dealer, and there's less of them. We've seen a lot of consolidation in the dealer network. Any comments on the prognosis for them, like the financial health, or is it a sector that feels like they've steered through, pandemic, post-pandemic well, or are they kind of hurting right now and just trying to figure out how they keep some margin?
Well, I think the sector, obviously challenges are challenges, and it's tough, and particularly when you compare to, 1, 2, 3, 4 good years, that when the market changes, it's no fun. But I think the whole reasoning behind the shift was to give a stronger financial base to these owner groups to weather these ups and downs and navigate through them differently. So to me, that change of much fewer larger dealers combined with the sea change we've seen with the whole online auction, online bidding space coming out of the pandemic, those are 2 factors working against what we saw a decade ago, that 20 to 25% across the board drop in used values. And the online auction thing is funny because, we've had online bidding for, 15 plus years. But all I can tell you, Sean, is that when the pandemic started March of 2020, and I do my gig, I'm collecting prices, and prices went up within 10 days, significantly. And there was no reason for it other than we're humans, and now no one's looking over my shoulder, and I'm going to hit that frickin' bid button one more time. Excuse my French. Yeah. So then when you interjected money into the system, it's just to the point now where it's apples and oranges. So it used to be if you had an auction, you'd advertise the event. Hey, I have an auction March 2nd. I got some nice stuff. Now you're target marketing every piece on your auction, and people are finding it through sites like ours and others where they, I'm looking for an HX15 batwing mower, and I don't care where it is, I just want the nicest one. Boom, there it is. Click the button, it's yours. That, to me, yanked the whole farm equipment space forward 7 to 10 years in one swoop. So I think structurally the system, now this is speaking from a manufacturer angle, the system functions better, more smoothly, faster, maybe mimicking the used automobile sector. If you're a farmer, the danger is assuming that it'll be just like it was 10 years ago, because times are tougher. Dealers always pile, that's a dangerous assumption. because again, we saw 400% increase in S780 sold at auction in 23, and they only dropped 15.5%. And that's because buyers from all over the world are looking at these things, and that's getting that 1, 2, 3, 4 extra bids. Now they're dropping, but so those are some of the things I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah. Before we wrap up here, is there anything else that you're kind of a signal you're sort of paying attention to here for 24 that's going to be an indication on which way we kind of head here?
Well, it's sort of the old money factor. I don't know how you verify it, but the Wall Street and those folks keep asking me about interest rates and stuff. And you boil this down, a lot of equipment has been bought with cash and land. So that's truth. And now the question is, how do we crack that nut anecdotally to when that changes? But when and if that does, then it's apples and oranges. Then you've got a different thing we're reporting on. So that's kind of what I'm watching.
Well, it's great to catch up with you. I really appreciate it. And everybody should go to machinerypete.com and what do you got go on there? All the listings and the values, auctions coming up. Give us if somebody hasn't been there before, give us a bit of a shout out here.
Yeah, we just want to let you type in, what you want, whatever make and model, and then show you the ones dealers have, the ones that are coming up at auction. We've got all our auction prices free there, machinerypete.com. So again, really want you to look at that beforehand, folks, before you buy, sell, or trade, so you know the hard cash, what stuff is going for. And then just our TV show and our commentary and all that stuff, that's our hub, machinerypete.com.
Great stuff. Greg, it was great to see you again.
Always great to catch up with you, Sean.